Hi there, Giovanni here at Frap Audio, and today we're in the studio with Federico.
Hey everyone.
Hi Federico. So today we are recording some electric bass, and then we will process it with the Dynamics 2806.
Right, so I will start playing fingerstyle and then switch to pick to see how the 2806 behaves in both cases. So what you were hearing while I was playing was the bass DI running through the 2806 in bypass mode, so it was not compressing. Right now I just turn the unit on and I'm gonna start tweaking the settings to create the perfect compression setup for the fingerstyle track. So for this sound, I used a 5:1 ratio. It's compressing about 6 to 10 dB, and I'm using a fairly slow attack and fast release. In fact, you can see in the first note, the attack is a bit amplified, which is something that I like to increase the clarity, but still, looking at the whole waveform, you can see that the dynamics in general are way more controlled than the DI. Let's try listening with a faster attack as well. Right, so in this case I turn the attack as fast as it will go for the first half, and you can hear that some saturation has been brought up as well, which can be cool, you know, if you want to add some character to your track. In the second half I turned on the classic mode, which is slowing the time constants, and in fact you can hear that in the second half is way less saturated, and it's bringing back in some of those little transients that were completely taken out in the first half. Let's listen to it again. So we just saw that with classic mode disengaged, which is the first half of this track, we have the situation where the waveform is more compressed and saturated without any peaks. If we want to reintroduce back some dynamics, we can use the parallel knob to do so. Let's try doing that. So in this case we still have the compression and saturation of the non-classic mode, but with a less extreme compression than before.
It also seems to me that while we have found, by doing this kind of processing, we found two ways of retaining the transients. The first one was with using a slow attack,
yep,
and still some kind of compression that keeps the transient down without crushing them, and then we saw we brought them in with the parallel compression on a fairly squeezed track. But it seems to me that with this last case, by bringing the pure, the straight unprocessed sound back in, the transients were a little bit more unpredictable as before, as with the previous
Yes.
track.
Yeah,
I
would
mean,
say
which
so.
can be something that you are after, but I mean, it has a different flavor. They retain the original dynamic width as the unprocessed track, which is in fact what we are doing here.
Absolutely. With a slow attack, I'm still controlling the transient and their envelope, so they sound more similar to each other. But with this setting, first of all, I have more saturation because of the fast attack and non-classic mode, and I'm also reintroducing the original transients, which are less controlled both in amplitude and in the envelope in time. So I definitely agree. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the peak performance. As you can see from the waveform, it's a bit more dynamic than the Fingerstyle one, so I'm gonna try to compress it a bit more aggressively to tame all the transients and bring up some of the body and maybe add some saturation, because I think after all this is a peak bass performance, so it's still gotta be a bit aggressive. So I'm gonna try the post mode on the compressor, and I'm also gonna try a fast attack to introduce some saturation. Of course the expander is off and we are working with just the compressor, so let's try tweaking some settings. So first thing we can notice that the attack is really fast, and it's introducing some unwanted distortion. This is sounding not really pleasant, so I'm gonna raise the attack time. Of course, we just noticed that if we engage the classic mode, the saturation is way less noticeable because we are increasing the time constants. However, in this case, I kind of like it. I think it can help in the mix, and I like the grit that it adds. So I'm just gonna leave the classic mode disengaged. So I'm using really aggressive compression settings here. We're around the 6:1 ratio, and it's compressing about 10 dB. And as you can see from the waveform, it's really taking care of all the random peaks in the waveform. This is the point where I turn the unit in bypass mode, so you can also see that the RMS is increased and the signal is way more saturated and has more body and weight to it. So besides using the parallel knob, setting the threshold in a different way, or working on the attack and release time, there's another way for us to retain some dynamics here without changing any other settings, and that is working with the contour knob. In fact, since I'm not sending any external sidechain input to the unit, the 2806 is reacting to the input signal, and of course the input signal has a lot of low frequencies because it's a bass guitar. So if we remove some of the low frequencies from the sidechain signal, which is the audio input itself, then the compression is going to be less heavy because we are actually removing most of the signal, which is triggering the compressor itself. So let's try demonstrating it. So yeah, this is another way to retain some dynamics when compressing with the 2806.
So thank you, Federico, for this demonstration, and stay in touch, and I will see you next time.